With summer coming up, we're entering my favorite season of all, margarita season. I love a classic, refreshing margarita on a hot summer's day to enjoy at barbecues, picnics, and on weekend getaways. For the perfect marg, I use Jose Cuervo, the world's #1 tequila brand. A big thank you to Jose Cuervo for continuing to support the pod and helping us to produce content for all of you. Time to embrace margarita season with Jose Cuervo. And remember to drink responsibly. On November 5th, 2024, 26-year-old Nick Fuentes tweeted something that he would certainly later regret. Shortly after the US presidential election results, Nick, who is a far-right commentator, posted a disgusting phrase to his over 400,000 followers on X. Quote, "Your body, my choice. Forever." This tweet inverted the pro-choice slogan of "My body, my choice" to attack women's reproductive rights. The backlash was intense, and the consequences were somewhat to be expected. In retaliation, women across the internet doxed Nick, sharing his personal information, including where he lives, online, with one woman even going so far as to show up to his home to confront him. The doxing of Nick Fuentes has brought forth new discussions about the complexities of this practice. Though generally used to harass marginalized groups online, many saw this instance of doxing as different. In the wake of Trump's election, so many human rights are on the line. And defenders argue that doxing Nick was a warning to American men that women are not backing down without a fight. This is an exploration into the ethics and the normalization of doxing, why users across the internet have come to use doxing as a form of protest, and how the culture on TikTok in particular has challenged our conventional view of this practice altogether. Ultimately, leaving us with one question: is it ever okay to dox someone? From Centennial World, I'm Lauren Meisner, and this is Infinite Scroll, a podcast about internet culture, the creator economy, and how social media is shaping Gen Z. Welcome back to Infinite Scroll, everyone. After a light week last week where we talked about some petty YouTube drama, I am bringing you guys a bit of a heavier, meatier episode today. So I hope that you guys enjoy this. I think it's very timely, and I think it's a topic that is not often discussed in kind of like the pop culture realm, but you know, we like to go deep here. We try. And I think that doxing, the normalization of doxing, is it ever okay to dox someone? These are things that are going to keep getting brought to the forefront, especially as internet culture evolves. These are big topics, big questions that are important to be considering when we basically all live our lives online, and TikTok in particular has changed culture, as I just mentioned, so much. Okay, before I get into the reviews, I needed to address something. I keep getting comments specifically on YouTube about our Jose Cuervo sponsorship. People keep making jokes or like questioning what I mean by saying like we're going into summer. So for anyone that does not know the lore behind Centennial and myself, I own Centennial World, so I own the media company that runs this podcast. I am Canadian, but I live in Australia, and I've lived here for almost 10 years, and our company is based in Australia. So we are going into summer in Australia, and we are sponsored by Jose Cuervo Australia. All right, so as always, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. It helps us so much. It helps us grow. Please rate us on Spotify. We are trying to get our Spotify ratings up. Also, I've had some feedback that there are too many programmatic ads now. So basically, we got programmatic ads turned on Spotify for creators. We changed posting platforms. I figured out how to fix that. So that's not to say that there will never be any programmatic ads. I definitely want some programmatic ads. That helps us a lot. Like the ad revenue from those programmatic ads definitely helps us keep this going, especially with 5 episodes a week for you guys. But I am very aware that having like constant ads in the middle, especially in the deep dives, which are already sponsored right now, is annoying. So I have figured out, I think, how to kind of place them more strategically or turn them off. Also, please sign up to our newsletter called Infinite Scroll. On Fridays, we round up the 5 biggest think pieces on the internet from that week. All right, I have 3 reviews to read for you guys. they're from YouTube. Sarah Pace Sings writes, Lauren, I'm fairly new here, but I just wanted to say I really like your vibe. I've had to dig here in YouTube to find podcasters that I like, and I'm glad I found your channel. Take care. Thank you. I'm loving when you guys tell us how you found us. I think I requested that last week or the week before, and it's so helpful to know. Sophia EC2607 says, I must say I absolutely love this podcast. This is random, but I love how you say Centennial World and Gen Z in that specific way each time. It's so satisfying for my ADHD, lol. Oh my God, thank you. I get comments all the time on Mini Scroll about how I say Centennial World and that you guys like say it with me in that like sing-song voice. I also find this so helpful for work. I work in social media, and even if I left my job, I'd still listen because you're so insightful and informative, and I always love hearing your takes. Thank you. And then Kim PS4EQ says, discovered you a couple months ago from it being recommended during your cottagecore era. I just loved the concept. I love internet lore, and I loved it being quickly explained, and I love your takes on things. As the reviews you read off are so true, you're so talented, the quality of the content is top tier. I listen when I drive home from work. It takes me about 15 minutes, so it's perfect. Thank you. That is so sweet. I assume that's about Mini Scroll being 15 minutes. You guys are so sweet. Thank you. Ever since we've existed in the online world, privacy has been a top concern. From parents warning kids about stranger danger on sites like Omegle to locking down Instagram accounts, keeping details private has always mattered. And though we are now spending more time online than ever before, it seems like the sanctity around privacy has waned. That doesn't mean we don't care about privacy. Gen Z, for instance, is known for being more restrained online, often posting less on platforms compared to millennials. However, as we get used to social media giants tracking our data and gain a deeper understanding of the online world, many of us now see privacy as an illusion. And whether that's actually true, it's affecting how users treat one another online. Take doxxing, for example. Now, if you've been online long enough, you would have definitely heard the term. But if you haven't, Associate Professor Carmen Lee explains the phenomenon in a journal article saying, quote, doxxing is a form of digital abuse, where someone intentionally seeks out and shares a target's personal information without consent. This type of private information could include anything from their address and full name to their place of work. The term dates back to the 1990s hacker culture, where doxing was shorthand for dropping documents. It began as a tactic to expose, harass, or discredit people by revealing private details, often to intimidate or pressure them. Used initially to de-anonymize online figures, doxing became a tool for harassment and even extortion. While this may have started in hacker communities and circles, it has become increasingly common across the digital landscape. Associate Professor Lee offers her explanation as to why in her journal article, Doxxing as Discursive Action in a Social Movement, writing, quote, as society becomes increasingly mediatized, one does not need to be a hacker to retrieve and share information of another person. As soon as someone posts content onto their social media profile, whether it is intended to be shared privately or publicly, they are already prone to exposing themselves to an unknown audience because of the context collapse of social media, i.e., the collapse of infinite possible contexts into one with an infinitely ambiguous audience. That being said, doxing really entered the mainstream in 2014 through the Gamergate controversy. Now, we covered Gamergate in our series Let the Girls Game earlier this year, specifically the episode with game studies experts Dr. Malian Butt and Dr. Lucy Sparrow, so feel free to check out that episode to learn more. But for those unfamiliar, Gamergate was essentially a massive harassment campaign in 2014 that targeted women who spoke out against misogyny in gaming. Many prominent women in the industry faced relentless abuse and threats, some so severe that the FBI got involved. It all started when indie game developer Zoe Quinn released a game called Depression Quest. Soon after, an ex-boyfriend of Zoe posted a lengthy, invasive blog accusing her of cheating with several men in the gaming industry, allegedly to boost her career. And let it be known that this post is still available to read online. One of those men was allegedly a writer for Kotaku, a major gaming publication, named Nathan. Although both Zoe and Nathan denied the accusations, waves of gamers swarmed Twitter, Reddit, and 4chan, claiming this was an, quote, ethical breach in gaming journalism. While the Gamergaters claimed they were vanguards of ethical games journalism, fighting to expose corruption by any means necessary, their actions were ultimately pure harassment. In a piece for Time from 2017, Zoe reflected on Gamergate, how it changed her life, and what exactly the Gamergaters did to her. Quote, I had been hacked and someone was in control of my account, broadcasting whatever they felt like to my 17,000 Twitter followers, as well as to all the creeps who had been manually lurking me on my page, she writes. The hackers weren't just posting calls for me to die or talking about what a fat slut I was. They were sharing my personal information, my old address in Canada, cell phone numbers from a few years back, my current cell phone number, and my current home address. A decade later, the effects of Gamergate linger. Many prominent women in gaming are still wary of addressing it openly, and many publications warn that the industry may be facing a Gamergate 2.0. This time, the focus is on Sweet Baby Inc., a narrative development company accused by critics of pushing a quote-unquote woke agenda in gaming. Quote, this time, instead of assembling under the false banner of ethics in journalism, this new campaign has chosen wokeism and Sweet Baby as the focus of their grievances, writes Ash Parrish for The Verge. The result has been a wave of bigoted harassment targeting marginalized developers, journalists, and gamers. With doxing becoming increasingly mainstream during Gamergate, it isn't exactly surprising that this practice would really blow up among gamers and streamers, particularly those on Twitch. Recently, Twitch has seen a rise in cases where streamers are doxed and then swatted, a double hit of harassment. As we've established, doxing reveals private info like home addresses, while swatting takes it further. Trolls use that information to call in fake emergencies, sending police to a streamer's home while they are on live stream. Aside from leaving its victims shaken, doxing and swatting can affect streamers in more ways than one. Recorded live streams of police swattings show how traumatic and dangerous the experience can be. Squads of armed police officers are recorded busting into rooms, pointing their weapons at streamers, while the creator is obviously caught off guard. The stream is usually stopped, followed by a tweet from the streamer telling their fans that everything is okay and that the police had responded to a prank call. However, not every swatting prank has ended harmlessly, as was the case when an innocent man was tragically shot by police responding to a prank call after an argument between gamers playing Call of Duty World War II in 2017. Being harassed in such an extreme way, swatting presents a real danger to streamers' personal safety, not to mention the psychological impacts. For instance, many streamers have said they no longer feel safe in their own homes, knowing that their addresses have been leaked. This has forced many streamers to relocate themselves and their families, no doubt creating a financial burden, and some streamers have been forced to find work outside of full-time streaming altogether. In June 2021, top streamer XQC revealed he had been forced to move back to his native Canada after his address had been leaked and he was being swatted by police almost daily. Quote, almost every day the police come to our house with the full squad, and I was genuinely scared that I was going to die, he shared on a live stream. Former streamer and drag queen Jupiter Velvet left full-time streaming after being swatted in September 2021 and told NBC she was left with no choice but to find other work to subsidize her lost income. Jupiter's experience is reminiscent of other streamers associated with the LGBTQIA+ community, with many members being frequent targets of doxing and swatting. Drag queens in particular have borne the brunt of these cyber attacks. Through 2021 and 2022, for instance, 6 members of the drag queen streaming collective Stream Queens were swatted. Alongside queer people, women are also at a greater risk of doxing. In a journal article written by Assistant Professor Stein Eckert and PhD candidate Jade Metzger-Rifkin, the academics share that, quote, women are more likely to receive greater amounts of unwanted, vitriolic, and sexualized messages, to be the targets of cybermobbing or brigading, revenge porn, nude leaked messages, and receive unwanted sexualized items. This is especially concerning because doxing often happens alongside other forms of online harassment. With doxing and swatting affecting countless streamers, it's become a significant issue for Twitch. Amid mass employee redundancies and creator boycotts, it's one of the major challenges the platform faces, but probably the most directly threatening to creator safety. As a result, the platform has made a concerted effort to restrict doxing. For instance, it is obvious in Twitch's community guidelines that doxing and swatting are prohibited on the platform. As the community guidelines read, quote, "Violence, including doxing and swatting, on Twitch is taken seriously and is considered a zero-tolerance violation, and all accounts associated with such activities on Twitch will be indefinitely suspended." Beyond this, the platform has even restricted sharing information that is available via the public record. Last year, according to TubeFilter, Twitch added a clause that allows the platform to take action against people it discovers have doxed or swatted someone in real life or on another part of the internet. While Twitch has taken action in its community guidelines, the platform hasn't really managed to stop streamers from being doxed. Regulation has been difficult, reaffirming how hard it is to control this type of online harassment and prevent breaches of privacy online. With this being the case, doxing is unfortunately becoming common across other platforms. One of the most recent examples of a creator getting doxed and going extremely viral for it actually went down on Instagram and X. It all started in October of last year when SSSniperwolf, whose real name is Leah Shalish, seemingly doxed YouTuber Jacksfilms. For context, Leah has become known for her reaction-style videos on the platform. Jack had been critical of Leah's reaction-based content for months. He made videos alleging she steals content, fails to credit creators by blocking their usernames, and even went on to create a second YouTube channel mocking Leah's content. Things came to a head when Jack claimed that Leah doxed him. He shared a screenshot from her Instagram story where she asked her followers if she should visit Jack, mentioning that he lived just a few minutes from her shoot location. "Sniperwolf just doxed me on IG. Creepy, gross, violating," Jack wrote on X. "What you do is disgusting. You steal content and stalk YouTubers." Leah also shared a video on her Instagram story outside Jack's home. She later defended her behavior, suggesting it was justified since Jack had consistently posted about her on his YouTube channels, characterizing it as obsessive behavior. Quote, "Accusing me of doxing is defamation. I have no idea how to dox," Leah later wrote on her Instagram story. "He literally posted his address on Google and said I threatened him and doxed him." After countless calls to deplatform Leah, YouTube temporarily demonetized her content, meaning the creator couldn't make money from videos uploaded to the SSSniperwolf channel. According to reporting at the time, Leah's main channel appeared to be demonetized, but her other channels remained ineffective. As a result, YouTube's attempt to address the situation were not well received by many users. They took issue with YouTube's statement, questioning why the platform only temporarily demonetized SSSniperwolf while attributing blame to both Leah and Jack for the situation. These users believed that influencers like Leah receive special treatment and favoritism because they bring significant audiences to the platform, something that is seemingly consistent across the social media landscape. Another notable example is when Trisha Paytas was doxed on her snark Reddit r/Trishyland. Established in October 2021, the Trishyland subreddit started after Trisha's falling out with fellow creator Ethan Klein. As I'm sure we all remember, Trisha and Ethan co-hosted the Frenemies podcast together before Trish left the show in mid-2021 over an alleged wage dispute. While the subreddit started as most snark communities do, with users posting news and speculation about Trisha, and of course the occasional sarcastic joke and meme, Trishyland quickly descended into one of the most abusive subreddits on the platform. Throughout 2022, Trishyland engaged in vicious attacks against the creator, which only got worse after she got married and welcomed her first baby. In a YouTube video discussing the subreddit and how it ultimately was banned, Trisha reflected on some of the harmful actions of the community. She said the community posted incredibly personal information about herself and husband, Moses Hackman, including which hospital she was planning to give birth at, her doctor's information, details about her family members, and payment records on her property taxes. Trisha also revealed that when she was undergoing fertility treatments, members of the subreddit called clinics around her area telling the facility not to take Trisha and Moses as patients. Now, Trisha wasn't the first nor the last person to be doxed on Reddit. Another infamous example happened way back in 2014 during what would become known as the Fappening. We did touch on this event during our Reddit deep dive earlier this year, but it was essentially when Reddit users began posting naked photos stolen from Apple iCloud accounts. It was even believed that some of these pictures may have constituted child pornography. Although these pictures originally appeared on 4chan, a subreddit called r/the Fappening became the primary hub for sharing them. Though the Fappening was not doxing in and of itself, some users did go on to dox those associated with the leak. Now, with all of these examples in mind, this leaves us with the question that I posed in the intro. Is doxing sometimes warranted? There is no denying that doxing is extremely dangerous, invasive, and in some instances, illegal. But many social media users can't help but wonder if it's acceptable, especially when the person who is being doxed did something wrong in the first place. Of course, no one really deserves to have their privacy invaded or stripped, especially in a space as volatile as social media. When information is shared on platforms like TikTok and Reddit, we have little control over who sees it and how quickly it might spread. With that context, even if a doxer doesn't intend for millions of people to see someone's home address or their workplace, it can easily happen. But when it comes to problematic people and comments, like the Nick Fuentes situation I mentioned in the intro, some users can't help but think that this tit-for-tat strategy isn't all bad. Users across TikTok have already started poking fun at Nick's commentary after his address was leaked, writing, "Your house, our choice," in the comments. It's clear that many women view his doxing as deserved, seeing it as a form of revenge for the celebration of efforts to control women's bodies in the United States. In fact, one TikTok user wrote, quote, "After going viral with the phrase 'your body, my choice,' Nick Fuentes found himself on the receiving end of the internet's play stupid games, win stupid prizes effect." Women dug up and shared his personal information on Twitter, delivering a clear message: "Your house, our choice." In a brilliant display of digital detective work, they turned the tables, showing exactly what happens when you try to control others. Mess around, and you're bound to find out. A TikToker named Kelsey shared a similar sentiment in a viral TikTok that has amassed almost 200,000 likes and 900,000 views at the time of recording.
This man is terrified. This man is so fucking scared for his life right now, and it makes me so happy. Would you look at here, the consequences of your own fucking actions.
While many users agree with the messaging within these TikToks, others have questioned whether the internet takes their digital revenge too far, especially when the offender didn't do anything illegal. Does a harmful post warrant your private information being leaked? There are definitely divided opinions on that question, but one thing internet users seem to generally agree on when it comes to this particular case is that Nick probably should have seen this coming. That's largely because doxing has become increasingly common over the years, prompting many users to be more careful about what they post online. And with the recent US election still fresh, many women and marginalized communities are deeply concerned about what a second Trump term will bring. Given that Nick's content isn't necessarily illegal and platforms are often slow to deplatform problematic figures, it's somewhat understandable that some users consider doxing as the only way to stop his harmful messaging. Ultimately, whether you believe Nick had it coming or not, this reaction goes to show how normalized doxing has become since the rise of TikTok. Like X and Reddit, TikTok has seen its fair share of doxing, even before Nick. Another notable example is when TikTok users started doxing the United States Supreme Court justices after the overturn of Roe v. Wade in June 2022. At this point, I'm sure many of you have heard of Roe v. Wade, even if, like me, you aren't based in the United States. But for those who are less familiar, the US Supreme Court's decision to overturn this ruling effectively removed the constitutional right to abortion, eliminating federal protections and leaving abortion laws up to the individual states. Unsurprisingly, people were angry, leading some TikTok users to dox the conservative justices who backed the majority opinion. According to reporting by Jules Roscoe for Vice, quote, "Some of the videos shared supposed credit card information. Other videos showed the home addresses of the 5 Republican-appointed justices who voted to overturn the decision. Those addresses do show up in public records databases tied to the justices." While TikTok attempted to suppress the content and delete the videos, Roscoe notes that other videos continue to pop up, with the information, quote, "recirculating through smaller and smaller accounts in the same format. A slideshow of the justices' portraits with text over their faces." This example is particularly interesting because it indicates one reason for the normalization of doxing on the platform. Gen Z treats doxing as a form of protest, a theme that is also clear when considering the reaction to Nick Fuentes. Since 2020, we have watched as Gen Z has embraced political activism and the pursuit of equality on social media. Through this, Gen Z has essentially changed what it means to be a celebrity. Fame is no longer just about glitz and glam. It's also about standing for change and progress. With this shift, Gen Z expects their favorite influencers and celebrities to take a stand on key issues and share their political endorsements. When they don't, the backlash can be intense. We all remember the response to Chappell Roan's refusing to endorse Kamala Harris. Whether this perception is valid or not, it highlights the fusion of internet culture, social media, and politics. This, in turn, has made the digital space more powerful for political protest than ever before. There's no denying the positive side of the politicization of online spaces. With TikTok democratizing fame and influence and political commentary becoming more common, the platform has given historically marginalized groups a chance to challenge racial hegemony and oppressive societal systems that are tough to break down. Doxing, in some cases, has become a powerful tool to flip the balance of power and privilege on its head. But it's also a slippery slope. Beyond the risk of misidentification and the spread of inaccurate details, there's a larger issue with doxing and the no nuance culture that's taken root on TikTok. Consider a typical TikTok comment section. While comments are often funnier than the content itself, they can also veer into problematic and offensive territory. Whether it's the anonymity or sheer volume of users on the platform, people often don't assume the original poster will see their harsh comments. The conversation around this no nuance culture came to a head last year when a creator named Michelle went viral after saying kindness and consideration for others are part of a broader social contract. While most viewers saw Michelle's message as a simple reminder of a fundamental aspect of human interaction, that we owe everyone a sense of decency and kindness at face value, some users took issue with her video. They claimed the creator was advocating for compassion towards individuals who are racist and sexist, while others felt that her message attacked neurodivergent people who have difficulty interpreting social cues. Michelle later took to the platform to clarify her original video, noting that she was not trying to excuse harmful behavior. Instead, it was a call for everyone to approach people with a base level of empathy and kindness. What we can take away from this exchange is how TikTok users seem to prioritize the impact and the outcome of their behavior online, even if it means sidelining values like politeness, kindness, and common decency. For many, the ends justify the means, even if it means bulldozing through these principles. While this isn't strictly related to doxing, it shows how the crusade for moral superiority underpins culture on TikTok and how we communicate to one another on the app. More often than not, this sort of discourse champions social justice and equality while aiming to amplify the voices of marginalized communities. But that isn't always the case, especially when the moralizing voices come from alt-right circles. So, when doxing becomes an option, with real lives, families, and mental well-being at stake, TikTok's relentless moral crusade can quickly backfire. Leah Kim, writing for Junkie, highlights an instance where the rush to doxing on TikTok may have been slightly premature. In April of last year, creator Jackie LaBonita posted a video captioned, "Watch my confidence disappear after these random girls make fun of me for taking pics." The video shows Jackie posing for photos at a baseball game, while two girls behind her flip off the camera and laugh. Soon, TikTok sleuths found the girls' names, accounts, and even where they worked, where the mounting pressure led to them to issue an apology to the creator. In her article, Kim questions whether the girls deserve to be doxxed and harassed by thousands of social media users for basically photobombing in a rude way. Quote, "We probably all have our moments of rudeness in public, yet we don't have that moment broadcast to millions of people who find out where we work and try to destroy our lives. On the other hand, we've also probably faced moments of rudeness from other people and yearned for some kind of justice," she writes. Ultimately, it feels like doxing has become a rather acceptable form of punishment for those who end up in the court of public opinion. The fact that the definition of doxing has also expanded has helped this along. In a piece for The Atlantic, Caitlin Tiffany notes how, quote, "The word doxing once defined a category of behaviors. Now it expresses an emotion." In other words, whoever feels like they have been doxxed can claim the phenomenon. Through the article, she discusses a number of different incidents where creators or public figures have been doxxed, noting how the term itself has been, quote, used to describe so many different situations, with varying degrees of sincerity and fairness. As a result, the original utility and definition of the term has diminished. Quote, some people deploy the word doxing to refer to any breach of trust, whether or not it results in the dispersal of personally identifying information, Tiffany explains. In fandom spaces, doxing can refer to actions that do little more than make the practices of that fandom visible to a wider audience. I was once accused of doxing Harry Styles fans by tweeting out screenshots of a conversation that happened in a public Discord channel in which everybody participating was using a pseudonym, quote. Therefore, as the definition of doxing becomes blurred, the ethical concerns around it seem less consequential. On top of that, there's a definite sense of power in numbers, something that is amplified by the mob mentality that runs rampant on TikTok. With the algorithm tailoring content to users, it's easy to fall into an information bubble and become trapped by confirmation bias. Sometimes this bias leaves us eager to dox creators and average users, even when such a punishment far outweighs the offense. To circle back to the question at the top of the episode, is it ever okay to dox someone? The expert opinions are mixed. As we've explored, the consequences of doxing someone can be significant and life-altering. When information is put out there in the online space, there's no telling how viral it could go, with concerns around who might see it and what they might choose to do with that information. On the flip side, some researchers, like ethics and information technology scholar David M. Douglas, argue that doxing may be justified in cases of deception, where the only way to show this deceit and reveal the truth is to share information that is in the interest of the public. That being said, the ethics around the doxing that we typically see on social media rarely fall into this framework, and they're murky at best. What used to be a severe breach of privacy that occurred in rare and extreme circumstances now feels almost commonplace. And while the trend won't vanish overnight, the debate over when, if ever, doxing is justified will likely follow everyday social media users and creators for years to come. Infinite Scroll is a podcast produced, presented, and co-written by me, Lauren Meisner, for Centennial World. This episode was researched and written by Annabelle Ben-David. Editing is by Danny Fennick. Thank you so much for listening. I love you guys, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.